This is the Resolute Podcast, where we are discipling and developing men to live with conviction. I'm Vince Miller, your host, and today we are discussing gaining wise counsel. Men, welcome back to the program. If this is your first time tuning in, then thanks for joining us. The Resolute Podcast is produced multiple times every single week. We have Resolute study guides that go along with this podcast for your men's group, found on the website for members at beresolute.org. Come back often. Feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or in iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. All the links are on the website, so let's dive in. Well, it's no surprise this week, Johnny Manziel was offering advice to Lamar Jackson, who was named the 2016 Heisman Trophy Winner. Now, I got to tell you, this heading immediately captured my attention for all kinds of reasons. As I continued to read through the buzz about Manziel and Jackson and their interaction together, I was enlightened by some of the content and video that's floating around on Twitter and Instagram. And all of a sudden, I had this sinking feeling in my heart for Jackson. Just something sank in my heart. You know, many of us know that Manziel was a definitive winner of the Heisman Trophy in 2012. While the quarterback at Texas A&M, Manziel was often referred to by fans in high school and college as Johnny Football. And he did have unprecedented statistics during his 2 years in college. One record he destroyed and annihilated was the all-time total yards of offense, which was formerly held by Archie Manning. He, on the other hand, Manziel, produced 557 yards of total offense in a single game. Now, that's unheard of. That's unthinkable. That's incredible. But as we know, it was off the field where Manziel's play struggled the most. He was and is still known for his arrogant swagger, hard language, defiant attitude, excessive partying, and poor treatment of women. While it would be easy for me to be critical of Johnny Manziel, I will say that I do not know him personally, nor do I know his struggles, but his behavior has been less than desirable as viewed on the world stage. Now, yet, I will say, I found myself secretly rooting for this guy when he was recruited by the Cleveland Browns. I had part of me that hoped that he would break through the swagger and have kind of this character rebirth in the NFL, and that maybe the NFL would refine him. Sadly, after 2 disappointing seasons, he was gone. And today, he still shows up from time to time in the news. Of course, we saw him this week during the Heisman Trophy celebration. And Johnny, if you're out there, I want you to know that I'm kind of in my heart still secretly rooting for you. And it's never too late to have a breakthrough in life. But guys, back to the topic. While the sudden stardom and achievements of Manziel during his 2 years in college are astonishing, his character is far more important than skill. And we all have probably learned that. The character is far more important than skill in life. And it is the impact of this character on Jackson that heightened my awareness when I read this article today. It was just startling. In a moment like this, my mind immediately recalls the warning of 1 Corinthians 15:33, where Paul quotes a statement from a play, which reads, "Do not be deceived," quote, "bad company ruins good morals," unquote. Bad company ruins good morals. Now, this quote is an interesting quote by Paul because it's actually something that theologians attribute to an ancient play written by Menander, a Greek playwright who lived a couple of hundred years before Jesus Christ. This guy wrote over 100 comedies, and one was entitled Thais, which was based on a powerful woman by the same name who was the companion to Ptolemy, general of Alexander the Great. And, you know, since we only have a few excerpts from this play, we're not really sure what Paul intended by this quote and what he intended to capture, but we can be sure that the axiom itself contains truth that Paul all wanted us to hear loud and clear. Listen carefully. Bad company ruins good morals. We have to be certain that coupling or even casual association of our personhood with bad company is always going to impact our character. It's a fact of the matter. I think that's what Paul's trying to communicate. The people that you hang out with impact your character. This association and impact may be subtle, or it can be a catastrophe, but it does happen whether we want it to or not. It's an unstoppable force, is what I believe that Paul is trying to teach us. And this is a concern not only for me, but it's also a concern for my children, right? And the people that I lead in my life. And why? Well, there are at least two reasons for my concern here. One is because of the potential impact of the negative morals of others. That's why we're concerned about it. Guys, the unspoken values and characters of a man impacts his thinking, attitude, and behavior. Did you hear that? The unspoken values and character of a man impacts his thinking, his attitude, and his behavior. And the more we spend time with people absorbing their thinking, attitude, and behavior, we then mimic or imitate their behavior, which informs our character and values. It works both ways. This is always true. Like a river of values moving through our soul, we cannot avoid the osmosis of these values which inform us and inform other people and influence them. In the Old Testament, the psalmist captures this truth in the very first psalm in the first two verses. Psalm 1, verses 1 through 2 read like this. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. The psalmist's encouragement is to be absorbed in truth that consumes our thinking and shapes the fabric of who we are, because the counsel, activity, and language of the sinner is consuming and shaping to the character of the man, right? I mean, it's significant, and we must fight for truth that shapes who we are. But there's a second reason that that concerns me. Second, because we need good counsel from people with God-centered values in our life. Not only is there the potential of negative impact, but there's the potential of positive impact. And we need good counsel from people with God-centered values speaking into our lives, right? Proverbs 12:15 says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice. Proverbs 11:14 also says, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Men, I'm just going to confess to you that I have often made decisions independent of other wise men in my life. Now, while every single decision we make does not need counsel, listen carefully. Failing to understand how to involve others who have God-centered value systems is a tragic mistake. Often my own selfishness and maybe a little sense of my own self-centeredness keeps me from inviting feedback about issues that I think I can truly handle on my own. And I will get trapped in making decisions from my own myopic viewpoint of any situation, right? And from experience, this is a dangerous and lonely place to be. We should learn the meanings of Proverbs 11:14 and 12:15 that teach us to avoid these potential pitfalls by surrounding ourselves with the right people who share good advice and have an abundance of wise counsel. So, gentlemen, my advice to Johnny Manziel and Lamar Jackson: get wise counsel from godly men. And I would assume by now you've probably been evaluating who you spend time with, right? I would assume so. I assume as you reflect on this and you reflect on the 2 points that I made, that maybe you're thinking about your own life. You know, I bet there are people out there that you should be spending less time with, and then there are others that you should be spending more time with. So guys, I would welcome you not only to evaluate this in your life, but to take action on it. Well, gentlemen, that's the show. Thanks for listening. I want to encourage you guys to find a couple of other men to join in with you. Listening on your own is great, but finding other men to join in with you is even better. And with the podcast like today, where could you go wrong? I mean, here's how this can work. All you got to do is just share this podcast with somebody else and then get them on the phone and talk about it together. Start opening up, find other wise men that you can do life with, and share with them your struggles, the places where you need help, where you need prayer, and where you need to be held accountable. So guys, get off the bench and get into the game, right? Finally, I just want to say today, if you're looking for an organization to financially partner with this year, we would love to partner with you. We know that from this time that you're receiving benefit, and we would love to be an organization that you keep in mind as we reach other men. As we reach men across the continent, as we reach men in prisons and inner cities, we would love to have your support as we move forward. So consider us as you are looking at some of your year-end giving or just even regular giving. It is your financial gifts that support this program and support our ministry. Well, guys, if you have any questions or comments, as usual, you can always email me at info@beresolute.org. And until next time, I want you to know I love you guys. Lamar Jackson, Johnny Manziel, if you're out there listening, we love you too. And remember, guys, live with conviction. Be, live, and act resolute.